got Gab, we got Ghost, we got the hostess with the most, Renee. Take it away. Renee. What's the subject today? Take it away.
Hello and welcome to Renee Live. I'm really excited for tonight's show. Of course, it's the first show of the new year. And so welcome to the year 2014. I'm really excited for this evening. I have a lot of fun planned, and it's just going to be a really exciting show. But I just want to say to everybody, people have been asking me, like, what's your prediction for the year 2014? The main thing I just want to say to everybody is that, it's a new year. And just like a new year, just like every day, we have choices. We have a clean canvas that we can paint any color we wish. It's up to you to make the life that you wish for, So either you can approach your life and your goals in each day with a positive attitude or that of a negative attitude. And what you put out there is what's going to come back to you. So if you want a real successful year this year, my suggestion is, and my prediction, is that those who have a really positive outlook and a positive attitude towards their goals and their dreams and wish for them to happen, with a little bit of work and lots of positivity, you'll be successful. For those who would have the negative attitude, then that's what you're going to be pulling back into your life. So here's to a successful 2014 for everybody. I do want to take a minute to thank everybody who has made it a point to shout out the show, tell your friends, tell your family, and have people listen in, whether it be on here, tune in, or any other player that we have available for you to listen to. It really does warm my heart, and it means the world to me. And I know I say this every show, that it's not me and it's not my guests that make the show. It's each one of you who volunteer your time to help make the show what it is by putting it out there. So I just want to say thank you very much. And from the bottom of my heart, I love each and every one of you. And I'm looking forward to many great things happening this year with Renee Live and in general. So as I move forward here into the show tonight, I have a special guest tonight. It's Kalila Smith, and she's an author, and she's branching out into many amazing things also. And we're going to focus in just the first half of the show a little bit on a book that she's written. And because I think she's really an amazing woman and has so much strength and courage, she's really admirable. And I think you're all going to love her. And she is going to give away a copy of her book, Afterlife Mysteries Revealed, tonight too. So one lucky listener is going to be getting that book. But I'm just amazed by her. And I believe you all are going to be too. So here's a song, and it's a pretty powerful song, I believe. This is for Kalila. Go ahead. Welcome, Kalila.
Hey,
How
how
are
are you
you?
doing tonight? I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely awesome. I'm staying warm, like you are.
Yes, that's the key. Stay warm because it is
Totally.
cold out. And from what I understand, it's going to get colder. So
It
we got
is
to
going
all
to get
stay warm.
colder.
Yeah, well, it's
I,
cold down here. I know it's cold everywhere else. I mean, usually it's not that cold down here, but from what I understand, it's going to get pretty doggone cold down here. So I know the rest of you guys are going to get a lot colder. So.
I have, the last like 4 years or so, I've been like, I really don't like the winter, you know? And I've been like, one of these days, well, you know what? This winter has done me in. I think the younger that I get every day, I have decided that it's really not for me.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. It really is. I mean, it's just, and what's so strange is that as cold as it gets, you would think then you'd have a mild summer, but it doesn't. It's just, I mean, down here we actually do not have any kind of mild. We don't have 4 seasons. We either have hot, hotter, and then freezing cold. There's never any. And this afternoon it was hot. I did a tour this afternoon. I was actually sweating. I was taking a jacket off. It was like, okay, it's kind of balmy and sticky out here. And then I went inside a house, and 3 hours later came out, and it was cold. And I was like, oh, great. There's no in between. Never an in between. But say levy. That's just how it is.
It's gotten that way up here in the north. You know what I'm saying? Although
Yeah.
the summers aren't like unbearable. I mean, it's gotten to like, I mean, I can handle the hotter weather because I attribute it to being part Native American, and part Italian, really, to be honest with you, that I can tolerate the hotter temperatures. But the colder ones lately, I don't ache. I just don't. I don't like it. A lot of people complain that they ache and everything else. The
Yeah.
cold just goes right through me.
Yeah, well, the cold goes through me, and I ache. Now that I'm the age that I am, I ache. It hurts. It hurts. It's painful to see this cold. So, but, it is what it is, and that's
It
what they
is.
make heaters for. So, you just crank up the heat, and, stay warm.
When your heat doesn't shut off for days on end, the furnace doesn't take a break,
Mm,
you know it's cold.
yeah, yeah,
And
God.
that's what we're getting up here. That's at least that's how it's been. Today is the first day in like 4 days that my furnace is actually taking a break. And like I said, right now we're at 40, but we have freezing rain,
Wow.
snow, and sleet.
Mm,
So
wow.
yeah, it's been brutal. It's been when I'm bundled up like in several layers, you know that it's cold.
Yeah, see, that's the part I don't like. I don't like being all bundled up. You can't move. You can't move your arms. Yeah.
I
I don't
like
like.
comfortable clothing, I like to be comfortable and stuff like that, but I don't like layering up.
Mm-mm-mm.
That's something that I don't like doing, but I am, on another note, just so glad you are here tonight.
I'm excited about this.
I am too. I've really been looking forward to this, and I really think you have so much to share with everybody, and I think they're just going to absolutely love you.
Fabulous. I hope so. I hope
I
so.
know they're going to love you. It's just amazing. You are an amazing woman, and I told you that last night that I really do admire you,
Thank
and
you.
I do mean that because you have quite the story to share with everybody tonight, and
Yeah.
and I know that you're going to be an inspiration for a lot of people. Um,
Well, that's what I'm hoping. That's why I wrote the book, because I really felt like, somebody else, somebody else is going to go through what I've gone through, and
exactly.
other people I'm sure have gone through what I've gone through, and you know, after certain doors were opened for me, it was just kind of like this was too good. It had to be shared because
It
it helped me
does.
tremendously. It really helped me tremendously.
It
In my
does.
journey anyway.
Now,
So
here's where we're gonna tell everybody a little bit about you.
okay.
Okay. You you wrote this book because of your daughter, um, who passed away
Right.
a year ago this month.
Right. The 25th will be 1 year that she left me, and it was very sudden. She had a routine tonsillectomy 2 days before, and there was no sign of any illness or any complications. She basically woke up, went to the bathroom, took a sip of water, laid back down, went to sleep, and 20 minutes later was gone. So it was very sudden and very unexpected, and just really kind of took me by surprise. It was not something. It wasn't like she was a lingering illness, and it was touch and go. Now she was special needs; she had Down syndrome, but there was nothing to indicate from the surgery that there were any complications that would have been life-threatening for her.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, being sudden, it's quite a shock, and it's difficult. And I say this to people a lot, and I'm going to say it to you, and if I get emotional, please excuse me, because certain things I can get emotional about, especially when I feel, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But as a mom, and a single mom especially, I could not imagine going through what you went through. I feel that it's to me I would be paralyzed for a while.
I was. Well, I was. It's every mother's nightmare. I mean, it really is. It's something don't ever. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. I really wouldn't wish it on anybody because it's devastating. It really is, and there's no good way. I don't think it's better if you knew ahead of time or you had a warning, or to lose a child is absolutely bar none the worst thing that could happen to anybody. It really is. And it is paralyzing, especially when it's unexpected, because it just comes out of nowhere, and suddenly this person that you take care of and you love, and this is your child, and suddenly that person's gone, and it's a loss like no other. It really is.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, I help people all the time through grieving and loss, and a lot of times the children are older, as far as they're really in their adult stages when the ones that I've dealt with when they've lost a child. And it is your worst nightmare because you always want to be the one to go before your children, but our children hold such a special place in our heart, and it doesn't matter how old they are or how young they're engraved right in your heart. That's not going to go anywhere. And to experience that, like I said, I cannot imagine, and I will never say to somebody, even, I can understand because I haven't been through it.
But you don't want to, yeah.
And I don't ever want to go
that
through it.
Yeah, it's something that, like I said, it's not anything I would wish on anybody. And it's the one thing I tell people: don't even think about it, because you don't want to know it. You don't want to know what it's like. It's just, it's the worst thing imaginable. And when it finally does happen, if it happens, it's 100 times worse than you thought it would be. So it's devastating. It totally ripped my world apart. It really did. My world was destroyed that day, and it was just there's no words to describe what I felt at the time.
Now, what I find to be really amazing, Kalila, is that each day is a new step. And towards feeling stronger and everything. But you really took a bold move in writing this book. Can you tell me and the listening audience exactly what it was that triggered you to start writing this book? Because you had doubts. You had doubts about a lot of things. after Stephanie's
I
death?
did have doubts. I spent almost 20 years, that's 18 and a half years I spent working with the paranormal. I professionally do ghost expeditions, so paranormal investigations. I teach paranormal investigations at local colleges, at a metaphysical center. I run a company that does ghost tours in the French Quarter. I've worked on numerous television productions that focus on the paranormal activity and communications with spirits, and this is what I do for a living. And actually, my daughter Stephanie was a big part of many of these investigations. She would come with me. She came with me on television shows, and what was the hardest part for me was that this crippling grief made me question everything that I believed up until that point. It's almost as if it's so different when you're dealing with other people. You're dealing with spirits of other people, you're not connected. And then when it's someone so close like that, it becomes personal. And I questioned and doubted everything. Even though in hindsight, I was getting signs from her right away. I mean, I saw her on the edge of the bed the next morning after she died. She was sitting at the edge of my bed, but I was so consumed with grief and hysteria that all I did was, I practically passed out when I saw her. And then I questioned, did I really see her? Even though I knew I did, there was parts of my mind that knew that I experienced that and that I saw it, I still questioned everything. What a lot of people don't realize that with grief, when you go into this, especially when it's sudden like that, and you've got the post-traumatic stress situation going on as well, the brain produces all of these hormones. And you're pumping these stress hormones in this massive amount, and it has an effect on you. It has an effect on you physically. It has an effect on you mentally. And one of the after effects of grief is that you don't believe anything. You think that everything, you think you're going crazy. You really start thinking that you're going crazy. And I very quickly moved into a position where I really felt like perhaps the last 20 years of my life, everything I had done, studied, taught, wrote about, maybe I was just all made up in my head. And it was a very strange place to be in. It was a very dark place to be in. I really, really sunk to a very, very dark place during that time.
And and that I believe would be very normal, right? Because you still, even though you're gifted yourself, and what you've seen and what you've gone through in those 20 plus years, when something like this happens, anything traumatic, you kind of shut yourself down. You shut your gifts down too. And
well, yeah, and everything.
I mean, totally.
Was questioned. Yeah,
well,
I questioned
you do.
everything. It was bizarre. It was it was strange because it was almost like I wasn't even me anymore. I didn't even feel like I was in my own body anymore. Like I said, there's half of what I experienced, words can't even describe it because everything. I had the crisis apparition. I had her sitting on the edge of the bed, and rather than embrace that moment that one would expect me to do, and say, Stephanie, oh my God, you're here. Tell me you're okay. I almost fell on the floor hysterically and began screaming because I guess I couldn't take knowing the reality that she was dead. And even though I saw her sitting there, and of course the minute I screamed, she disappeared. So, so in hindsight, it was like, wow, lost opportunity. How stupid of me to not embrace that moment of seeing that apparition sitting there, because she was she was actually quite happy. She didn't have Down syndrome, and she looked at me, and she kind of threw her hands up in the air and shrugged her shoulders and had this big smile on her face, like, hey, look at me. And, there was certainly nothing bad about it, but I was in no mental state to accept that. And I think that if I would have embraced that moment and tried to communicate with her, that would have been accepting that she was dead, and I don't think I was ready to accept that reality yet.
Right. And it's difficult for a lot of people. I know that when one does go through a death, a loss like that, and then you throw in the post-traumatic stress disorder on top of that, it makes it very difficult. And then you still have to go through the grieving process, the step of the grieving process. So everything becomes really, like you said, you feel like you're out of body and you're not yourself,
Yeah, it was the grieving process is a very ugly thing. It really is. I had lost my parents when I was young. 18 with my father and then 20 with my mother. But I'd lost my brother before. I'd lost a very dear friend, but nothing compared to this.
Right.
I thought I handled death very well, knowing what I knew, experiencing what I had known. But the minute it became one of my children, it was like all bets were off, and no more rules applied. Everything changed. Everything changed because it was someone who was my child, and it's a different kind of loss. But it was certainly. I realized in hindsight, at a certain point in the grief process, I realized that I had never really grieved before. That people, people I had lost through the years, that I just kind of buried it and pushed it away. That I really didn't fully grieve many losses that I'd have throughout my life.
Mm. Now, in the process, was it prior to writing the book that you went and you sought the help of a psychic, didn't you?
Well, I went to a medium. A psychic is someone who sees, actually, I'm a psychic. It's someone that sees what's going on around people. What's to come, except unless it's your own stuff, you don't see that coming. They don't give you that gift. Mm-hmm. But a medium is actually someone who communicates with those who are on the other side. Mm-hmm. A medium is someone who can connect with spirit and give messages from the other side. And it was kind of strange the way it happened, because I was going through the normal. I'd actually written a book prior to this one that I self-published, and it's called Farewell, My Forever Child. And it's a very small book. It's a tiny little book, and it was kind of the beginning of the grieving process, because there was nothing out there for parents who had special needs kids. There were all these books on grief, and there was nothing about grieving a special needs child. And I want to say at this point that is a little bit different. And it's not to say that my pain's any worse than other parents who have lost children. But when it is a special needs child, we are different. We parents are different because we have grieved the child's entire life, basically. We grieve when we find out the child has something wrong with them. We grieve every time that child doesn't hit a milestone in life. Mm-hmm. So, grief was nothing new to me. It's just that unbeknown to me, I had been stuck in many different levels of it. So I was dealing with this, I want to help other parents because this is horrible. There's nothing out here that really touches on that special type of grief for a special needs parent. So I wrote that little book. And in the process of writing that one is when I sought out the medium. I was actually planning to go to MobiCon, and that's it's a sci-fi con in Mobile that occurs in the spring down here. And I was actually kind of deciding, do I want to go to MobiCon? Do I not want to go to MobiCon? It was a Saturday, I could drive up, do a day there, sign some books, do whatever. And while I was pondering this, literally, I was walking down the street, and out of a grocery store walked a local psychic who knew me, and she walked up to me, and she handed me a business card that said Metaphysical Resource Center, and she said, you really need to come to this. The guy who runs it is a medium. And she goes, we do a psychic fair every month. Well, I had no idea that this was going on. So I went home, I researched this medium. His name's Sid Patrick. And I didn't even know we had a local medium. And I made an appointment with him. And I thought, worst thing that could happen is he gets nothing. That's the worst thing that could happen. I could go to this guy and I could walk away with no communication. Because I was at the point that even though I was getting signs from Stephanie, I was not recognizing them as signs. I needed somebody else to kind of hold my hand and go, yeah, this is real, this is happening.
Right.
So, and I almost canceled. I came very, very close to canceling the day before I went to him, literally, I was so hysterical. I'd reached a point where I was so hysterical and just hurting so bad that I was pretty much laying on the floor crying and just saying, I can't do this. I don't want to live like this. I can't do this. And a friend of mine called, and we chatted, and kind of got me through that. And reluctantly, I went to the side, and I really didn't expect anything to happen. I figured I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to walk away, and, you know, this is not going to be anything life-changing. Well, I was very wrong, because within the first minute of speaking to this person, I knew that he had tapped in with her. And he literally gave me messages that could only come from her. He also gave me messages from other people on the other side. And when he opened that door, one of the first things he told me was that I was grieving so hard I was blocking her from coming through. And she told me, she said, in order for me to get close to you, you've got to stop with the grieving process. You've got to turn some of that off, because I can't get closer to you. You're not seeing what I'm sending you. You're not paying attention. And that's when it really kind of opened up for me. And it took me a while. I mean, he gave me a CD of his reading. It wasn't just I went to him and everything was magical. It was I went to him and then I had to listen to the CD several times for it to really, really sink in. And when knowing that she was okay was just, because that was my biggest fear. That was my biggest fear. What if everything I believed in, everything I wrote about, what if that was just my opinion? What if that's not true? What if she no longer existed? And that was my greatest fear, was that. What if she just disappeared? That was one thought that as a mother, I couldn't take. You know that feeling when you don't know where your kid is?
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, oh, my God, where's my kid? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, my God, where's the kid? Can't find the kid missing. Yep. And you go into that panic mode. And that's where I got stuck. It was kind of like, I don't know where my kid is, and I don't like this. And the minute I knew that she had actually broken through, there was just this, it was like a ton of bricks taken off my shoulders. It's like, okay, she's still here. This is not, and she was very nonchalant about it. When she talked to Sid, she was very nonchalant. Because Stephanie being Down syndrome had all of her life had spoken to spirits. She had, you know, she constantly had conversations with spirits that I wasn't able to see. And I always, you know, definitely always confirmed that Stephanie, in my opinion, walked in both worlds. I mean, she always had one foot on the other side, so to speak. And, you know, she was very nonchalant about Sid, and she said, well, you know, it's really not that different for me, because I was kind of half here and half there anyway, and now I'm still kind of half here and half there, only I don't have you know, I'm more here than there. And she says, it really didn't make that big of a difference for me. And I was like, how can you be so cavalier about this? What do you mean? And, you know, and it just, you know, and that was about in March. That was around her birthday. And then I still had to see, I went and had to get validation from a couple of other mediums. Another one was one at the Afterlife conference. I went to the Afterlife Awareness Conference in St. Louis last June, and there was a medium there. Her name was Jeanette, and she did drawings of the spirits that she saw around. And again, she described Stephanie to a T, and when she started drawing the picture of her, it's like, this has to be real. Okay, this is when it hit home for me, because it was like, okay, this person's not making this stuff up. I'm looking at a picture this woman's drawing, and that's her, and that's who she's seeing, and this woman doesn't know me. She's never met me before in her life. Mm-hmm. And after about two or three mediums, it really started driving it home. And once I turned off that grief, once I really turned off that intense, horrible mourning, I started seeing the signs. And they were pretty miraculous. And it was such to the point. I even went to Homa. I went to go visit. I found out in desperately searching for proof of an afterlife, just to console myself, I ran across Dr. Jeffrey Long, who wrote the book Evidence of the Afterlife. And I found out that Dr. Long only lived an hour from my house. I went and had lunch with him. I actually called him up and I said, I need to talk to you, you know. And he looked at me. Here's a doctor, a radiation oncologist, and the first words out of his mouth is, your daughter's safe and she's in a much better place than we are. And he says, I guarantee you that. And it was like, okay, I'm hearing this from a doctor. This is not a psychic. This is not a medium. This is, you know, this is not some person that's, you know, in what some people might consider metaphysical or occult. This is a physician telling me that she's fine, and he knows she's fine. And I went and met with him, and again, it just further validated that that this is real.
It is real, and I try to tell people that all the time. And actually, there's an exercise that I want to go through with you, not tonight, but sometime. I'm going to talk to you, and we're going to try something that I do with other people, and I think you'll find it absolutely amazing. But it is very real, you know, and when you do shut down your gifts, because I did it one time myself several years ago, you can't keep them blocked forever. I learned that the hard way too. But, you know, when you go through something that's bad, and mine just happened to be a vision that I had seen, the first time I had actually seen a vision of something horrible that was going to happen to somebody by just looking in their eyes. And it happened 2 weeks later, and I didn't believe it. You know, I was like, nope, I'm not going to believe this. You know, that's not true. What are they doing? They're playing jokes on me. This is a horrible joke. I don't believe it. And less than 2 weeks later, it happened. And I think I beat myself over the head for a good 5 or 6 years at least, and shut everything down, you know, and didn't want to believe anything.
Well, yeah, the trauma. Yeah, trauma.
It is. It's very
negative,
traumatic.
Horrible that happened. Yeah, and it is. And yeah, and I think that's what we do. I think, you know, it's hard enough when you have a gift to get that left side of your brain to shut up and allow you to have that gift and allow you to acknowledge that gift. But then when something horrible happens, and you know, we feel responsible for it.
Totally. You know?
Yeah, well, you know,
we're not stopping it.
Well, because you're not stopping it. That's exactly right. Because that was one of the things that I really, really had a hard struggle with when my daughter passed away. Was like, how come I didn't see this coming? How come I didn't see this coming? How could this be happening and I didn't realize it? I mean, when she died, I was in the other room moving furniture. It was like I was setting up a guest bedroom. I had people on the way to visit. And, you know, it was like, how did I miss this?
Mm-hmm.
How did my psychic alarm didn't go off and tell me something was wrong? And it was, you know, that was very difficult too.
And
you know, so it's not just a shock.
Well, it is. But this is the thing a lot of people don't understand with us, is that we can see for other people, correct?
Oh, right. Yeah,
but when it comes to ourselves, we can't see for ourselves. We're not supposed to see for ourselves, because then life would be too simple. And we wouldn't have our life lessons and our challenges like everybody else. And to be, to be able to celebrate the good times in our life, we seriously cannot see what's coming our way for ourselves unless we have somebody else who's going to tell us, or we get our own little signs. But it's not played out for us, for our own life, like it is, like we can do for everybody else.